Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Once again, we survived the week. The weekend awaits, and this is This Week in Watches. We have a great show tonight, and I've got a co-pilot to match. I'm here with Josh Thanos.
Hey guys.
Lead watch buyer for Govberg and Watch You Want. And actually, Josh and I have some pretty big news. Josh, what is the news?
I had a great lunch today.
You know, that's important, but I think we got bigger news too.
Oh, that one, okay.
The news to come, not the news that's been.
Well, Tim, I found out recently that you were going to Switzerland, and I get to hold your bags on the way. So we get to go to Switzerland to the Journe factory, don't we?
We're doing this at the end of September. We're going to Geneva. We're going to see FP Journe. We're going to come back with tons of photos, tons of footage, and insights. This is going to be a big deal and a lot of fun, but we're also going to bring you along with us. We're going to do everything we can to make this visit interactive for all of our viewers around the world. So if you can't come with us to Geneva in late September, nevertheless, we will bring Geneva to you. Okay, so
very exciting.
Speaking of bringing watches to you, the hardware store 724 is Watch You Want Watch Reviews. It's my other YouTube channel where you can see just my old style on the wrist reviews. If you liked my 5 to 7 minute quick hits, 24 hours a day, you can see, you can hear my wrist. Talking about watches ranging from grand complications to, well, Breitling Aerospace.
Boom.
That's Josh's wrist shot. And we're going to do wrist shots in just a second. But first, I do want to remind you that whether you have one watch, no watch, 100, the best way to organize your collection and stay in touch with the watch world is through the Govberg Watchbox app. If you go to govbergwatches.com, you'll immediately see the click in the header for the app. Go there, check it out. It has a real-time AI pricing engine so you can get the value of any watch in your collection or the whole collection, track the values of watches you want to buy but haven't bought yet. It's also a news vector so you can see all of my videos and a curated stream of the blogs, the magazines, and the news sites that you like. So check it out. It's our Govberg Watchbox app, the best way to get video and watch news on the net. So Josh, let's play this or that.
Sure, man.
Okay. Complicated dive watches.
Right.
Now this is a complicated issue because a lot of folks are of the opinion that dive watches are a purist's utility watch.
Right.
So I'm going to totally screw that up and offer you a choice between the Blancpain 50 Fathoms Triple Calendar reference 5066 or last year's rock star, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Diver.
Right.
So Josh, here's the choice. The Blancpain is $24,700.
Retail, yeah.
Yeah, that's the retail. Came out in 2010, so it's been with us for a little while.
Right.
The Royal Oak Offshore Chronograph Diver, this is the 26703 ST.
Yeah,
it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's $27,900. Walk me through which one is your choice and why.
So the Blancpain is going to have blue dial, blue bezel, yeah? It's going to have a complete calendar, so it's essentially an annual calendar with a moon phase.
Well, it's a complete. It's not an annual, but you adjust it 5 times versus once a year.
Okay, so there you go. So a complete calendar with the moon phase. It's going to be in the traditional 50 fathoms case.
Very thick.
Thick, yeah, thick on the wrist. The AP, you have some colors to choose from, right? So you got what, yellow, they do orange, they do green.
They do green,
yeah.
and I'll weigh in on
Very
this or that in a moment,
yeah.
But they do have a color array, and I think Sean's got that graphic for us too. So, Josh, I remember you were very critical of this watch. You loved the Pure Diver that came out in the same colors this year.
Right.
You did not like the chronograph version of the same watch last year.
Well, so I like the way the watch looks on the wrist. The regular 42 chrono tends to be a little bit thick on my wrist. So when this watch came out, which is even thicker, I was kind of critical.
Okay.
They did sell very well through the boutiques. They were all limited. So
and the green one was a Geneva only boutique edition.
You didn't even get your hands on that one. Very upsetting. If you have one, please give us.
I'm going there 1 year too late.
Yeah. So so if we're comparing the two, right? If you're going to spend the money on the Blancpain, you're going to get a brand that is makes very fine watches.
Yeah.
Good examples of dive watches, lots of history there, doesn't tend to hold as much value on the resale, right?
Yes.
If you go for the AP, you're going to have less complication, a little higher price, and depending on which color you have, there's going to be different value retentions.
Yeah, like for instance, my green Geneva Boutique limited edition, that would be the one I would buy.
Right.
But that's probably going to be the hardest one to move.
Yeah.
Because it's, let's be frank, it's a little bit quirky. It's kind of like me. It plays to a specific taste.
Well, that one was more limited, I think, than all of them.
Yeah, it was 50 pieces.
So that was 50 pieces. So in terms of value retention, that watch is probably going to hold the most value out of all of them, and honestly, probably my favorite iteration of them. So But again, if we're comparing, right? So you have one watch, it's going to be roughly $3,000 or $4,000 cheaper than the other watch. It's going to have a little bit more complication on there. It's going to have a rich history in dive watches.
Yeah.
And I think they claim to be one of the first.
Yeah, they beat Rolex to market by a few months in 1953.
Right. So first, so even though I have a deep love for Audemars, I would go with the Blancpain.
Okay, and let's just go through what the Blancpain does bring to the table here, because this is a 50 fathoms model we don't speak of too often. Still has the sapphire capped bezel, still a fully loomed bezel, blue guilloche dial that's then galvanized.
Right.
Really striking look. Triple calendar, thick watch at 17.5 millimeters versus 14.5 for the Audemars Piguet. But the calendar is an interesting one because it uses under lug correctors that don't compromise the 300-meter water resistance, and critically, they can be actuated without a pusher, so you don't have to have like a toothpick to set the calendar.
So Journe does a lot of that as well, so that's a big deal. Both watches have exhibition case backs, yeah?
Yes, they do. They do. I will say that the Blancpain is a little bit more, the display case back of the Blancpain is a little bit more interesting, even though the caliber 3124, I think it's 3841 module on the AP, is probably the more rugged movement of the two. It's tougher. It's built like a sports watch caliber with a free sprung balance and a full balance bridge. The Blancpain is more spectacular to look at. But I'll also say this, the AP, all around, it's just a better sports watch. The Blancpain is a spectacular watch. And I'll say this, those underlug correctors, they won't allow you to change the watch during the danger zone engagement.
Right. So which is good. It's a little safety mechanism there. I will also say that I don't know if that Blancpain was limited in any way, but we haven't seen very many.
No.
So, and the ones that we have seen, I think we've had two separate serials of the same watch through Watch You Want and Govberg. In my experience, both have sold actually a little stronger than other models through Blancpain. So the watch, it does hold a little better value than some of the others that I've seen, and it seems like for the price point, because technically a lot of times we look at Blancpain and feel like sometimes their prices are a little inflated, right?
Yeah.
This seems like it's almost underinflated. Yeah. Like it's a very reasonable price for what you're getting.
It's a high horology movement. It's a high horology dial, case, bezel. Everything is finished like you'd expect at the top of the market. Under $25,000, you're getting a complete calendar, you're getting a chronograph, you're getting a diver, and I forgot to even mention, it's also a flyback. I think both of us, despite my predilection for that nuclear green, I think both of us are going with the Blancpain here.
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, heads up, we're going for the Blancpain, but both watches are fantastic.
Yeah, and the Blancpain is an even better buy pre-owned, because like I said, the AP came out last year, a very exclusive series, generally boutiques only. The Blancpain's been on the market since 2010, so you've got selection.
Right.
So news from Switzerland, guys. We often discuss the FH, which is the Fédération Horlogère, the statistics of the Swiss watch industry's trade group. And every month we give you last month's effective sales, and these are exports. Switzerland exports almost all of its watches, so that's basically a bellwether for the industry. This month we're bringing you the annual watch industry census. Now this is interesting because it's actually conducted by the Convention Patronale de l'Industrie Horlogère Suisse. So what it really is sort of a taking of the temperature of the industry's health. It comes out once a year, and basically, what we're not surprised to learn is that Neuchâtel, Bern, and Geneva lead the 26 Swiss cantons in watch production. What I was surprised to know is that, okay, total employment in the sector, which is about 56,000, dropped about 3.5% in 2016 versus 2015. Now here's where it breaks down in an interesting fashion. Somewhat disturbingly, watch production workers, people who actually make the watches, who comprise 75% of the industry, their numbers dropped 7.1%, while administrative personnel, including boutique staff and executive headcount, rose significantly, about somewhere between 6 and 10% for those two groups. So here's the good news. There was a 2.3% rise in 2016 in technical apprentices. These are people who are in the craft arts, these are people who are in watchmaking, component finishing, enameling, gem setting. So this is a good sign for the future. Furthermore, by getting this census, we know that 85% of the Swiss watch industry workforce is covered by some sort of collective bargaining agreement. So there's a lot of leverage on the workers' side to get some of these folks who've been laid off back to work when business picks back up. So no surprise, 2016 was bad and overall employment fell, but apprenticeships are up, workers are generally protected, and here's another ray of light. Only about 10 of the 709 registered companies within the census went out of business in 2016. And while this doesn't take some of the 2017 insolvencies into account, it is notable that most of the failures were retailers, not actual manufacturing operations. So this bodes well for the bounce back of the industry as sales pick up, as the glut of unsold watches gets sold off, and gradually the industry emerges having weathered the storm. The business downturn does not appear to have taken many scalps. Now, Josh, we've got an interesting feature here. Most underrated watches, and these are your picks. Josh is going to share his most underrated luxury watches, starting with, I think, one on your wrist. Now, mandatory wrist shot, by the way.
Okay, we'll keep it on the wrist then. So we'll start with the upside down wrist shot of my handy dandy trusty Breitling Aerospace. Okay, you guys have seen this many times before. So this is my top pick for most underrated watch.
Yeah.
This is, like I've said many times, my favorite Breitling reference.
You bought that pre-owned, right?
Yeah, of course.
Do you mind if I ask what you paid for it on the strap pre-owned?
Actually, I bought this on a leather strap with a titanium buckle. I want to say I paid about like $1,300 or $1,400 for this watch.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and this is a 90s reference. So it's going to be, it's an older watch, but I put it on the updated rubber strap and buckle.
Give them a little bit of an angle. The camera's right there.
Let's take it off. There we go.
Oh, good. I'll be your hand model.
Do it. Go for it, man. So that watch is going to be a watch that you can find under $2,000 pre-owned. It is highly complicated in regards to the fact that it's going to have a second time zone. It's going to have day and date. It's going to have a minute repeater. It's going to have a chronograph. And am I missing any other complications on that watch?
It's got a backlight.
That's
it's
right.
got a dual time. You have 12 or 24-hour time. You've got a perpetual calendar. It's 100 meters water resistant too, guys, with a dive-style unidirectional bezel.
At the beach.
So yeah, technically it meets all the criteria to be a diver too. So about as versatile as you can get. And the Aerospace came out in 1985, guys. We still see them coming in for service. So for less than $1,400, Josh got a lifetime serviceable, like true Swiss luxury watch built by a watchmaker. That's your most underrated watch, period, and I endorse that. I think that is the most underrated luxury watch.
And they make different sizes of this watch. Right now, the current iteration is going to be a 43 millimeter. This is a 41, so it's going to fit me a little better than the 43. But you have a lot to choose from. A lot of these watches hit the market. People wear them. They get tired of them. They sell them. So you have a lot of inventory out there, and the different dial colors are going to come in and out of favor. So you have blues, you have the white cream that
They've made them forever too. So the back catalog of stuff kicking around on eBay and Chrono24, it's almost infinite.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can buy it on a bracelet. You can have it on a strap. You can have it on a deploy on a tank. There's a lot of options for you. If you're looking for a good like a beater watch knockout, this is a watch that I've found myself for the last few months wearing every single day. And obviously, don't have to wind it, don't have to set it. It's ready to go. Quartz
has its privileges.
That's right.
And you know what? It's a chronometer. It's one of the very few quartz chronometers you'll ever see.
Absolutely.
Breitling certified every single one of them after 2008 chronometer.
Sorry. I apologize. Highly underrated watch, without a doubt.
Okay. But we have some mechanical watches on your list too.
Yes, we do. So we're going to go, my next pick is going to be a dress watch from a brand that's very, very underrated in my opinion. It's going to be Parmigiani. So you and I had the privilege of meeting I think it's the North American president of Parmigiani. Yeah, Terry LeCoultre, and he spoke to me about the brand. And once I looked a little bit deeper into the brand, I fell in love. So you're going to have a high level finishing, right? A very small boutique manufacturer. About how many watches they turn out a year?
You know, it's hard to say because their production, I would say it's probably like 15 to 20, but a big chunk of that is watches they make for other people.
Right.
Like they make watches on contract for others, and you'll see their movements appearing in the likes of Richard Mille. So they also make important high-end components for the industry as a whole. Plus, if you have a vintage like Renaissance, like moon phase clock, they'll restore that.
That's right.
So they have a dimension to them that most watchmakers don't.
Well, that's one thing that Terry like kind of expressed to us, their love for watches, right? They are less in the business of selling watches and more in the business of making watches and loving watches, right?
Yeah.
And that was one thing. So the Tonda 1950 with the micro rotor,
very nice micro rotor.
Absolutely, movement. And we had one recently with like a meteorite dial.
Yes.
Unbelievably beautiful watch. And unfortunately, it tends to be very undervalued in the market. So it's a watch that, when you find it pre-owned, is an amazing bargain if you take into account what all you're getting.
And I mean, you look at that micro rotor movement. You're getting a manufacturer caliber, hand finished, 40mm case, stunning with black dial and white metal, wears well on any wrist, 65-hour power reserve. And on top of all of that, the watch retails for $9,900.
That's right.
Pre-owned, you're going to get it even better.
Yeah.
And, you know, Michel Parmigiani, obviously, he makes more watches than FP Journe, but he loves the watch and the process and the history. And coming from a restoration background endowed by the Sandoz Family Foundation, which is kind of like a Swiss pharmaceutical empire,
right,
he's able to do exactly what he likes. That's why his watches are so individualistic, with the teardrop lugs, with the dials, the special delta hands. He does things his way, just like FP Journe does things his way.
Right.
Still very much the name on the dial being the driving creative influence behind the watches.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do see some mirror images of Journe and Parmigiani, obviously not in their style, but you know, in the ideas of their watches, and that's really what I love about them. They're unmistakable. When you see the watch, it doesn't look like anything else. Yeah. So I'd say the Parmigiani Tonda is definitely an undervalued watch, and underrated.
Extremely thin too.
Oh,
extremely thin.
Which I'm into thin watches. Yeah.
Thin is in, guys. It's thin is the new complication.
That's right.
But speaking of the old complication, you've got an old school 2000 style monster machine for us.
So if you're looking for a watch that is going to be extremely undervalued, in my opinion, from a manufacturer that does really, really fine work, Girard-Perregaux. So again, in the same breath as Parmigiani, you're going to have a brand that a lot of in-house movements, right, and a model in the WWTC, the World Time Chronograph, that's going to be extremely devalued in the secondary market, but highly complicated and really kind of like forgotten about.
And this is a model that from the early 2000s really became the icon of modern Girard-Perregaux. Folks of a certain generation might think the Laureato from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, but people of our generation who remember, you know, the 2000s and, you know, don't have any first-hand knowledge of watches in the 90s, the 80s, and the 70s, we think Girard-Perregaux, we think the WWTC.
That's right.
It's a chronograph, it's automatic, it's a world timer, and you've got your choice of titanium, ceramic, steel. Prices start at about $6,500 pre-owned. And you can go as high as you want with precious metals, but there's no need to go above $10,000 to get a really nice version.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can have 2 or 3 in your collection, because if you go for a rose gold with a cream dial, or you go with a titanium with the black and blue or red and blue, I mean, you're going to have, it's totally different watches, but you have so much complication, especially in a pre-owned price. It's I would wager to bet that it's less than the cost of manufacture a lot of times.
And remember, this is not some Johnny-come-lately brand. This is Girard-Perregaux. This is a company that, in terms of what it can do in-house, deserves to be mentioned alongside Zenith, deserves to be mentioned alongside Jaeger-LeCoultre, Glashütte Original, if you want to talk about a German company that does it all in-house and, you know, makes a similar volume of watches. This is a company that really deserves to be regarded, and I would even compare them to what Ulysse Nardin has become. The reference 49800, that's the most common reference for the WWTC chronograph. It's a good size, but it's not so big that I couldn't wear it on my 16-centimeter wrist. And I'll do a little wrist shot. This 44mm Amvox that I'm wearing, this is my Amvox 2 vertical trigger chronograph. I may as well start it up for the cameras. But this is a watch that is bigger than the WWTC chronograph. So if your wrist is my size, you can still wear this world time chronograph from Girard-Perregaux that Josh is citing. Pretty much all of them retailed for $20,000 and up, so you're also getting a ton of watch for the money pre-owned.
That's really the point that I'm making. You get a ton of watch for the money, without a doubt.
So new watches, guys. We've got a couple, not too many, but Vacheron Constantin, they first released the Patrimony Excellence Platine series, along with a couple of others in the mid-2000s. The first series of the Excellent Platine came out in 2006. The idea was to take a platinum watch and make it more so. Take a platinum case add a platinum buckle, add a solid sandblasted platinum dial, add platinum imbued silk threads to the contrasting stitch of the alligator strap. And now we have the Patrimony Excellence Platine, small second, 42 millimeters, platinum case, sandblasted platinum dial. Yes, the thread on the strap is still infused with platinum, 950, and the watch has a Maltese cross-style pin buckle in, you guessed it, PT950. So this is an interesting watch that bears the post-2012 hallmark of Geneva, which is to say the hallmark is both on the case and the movement. It's a base 4400 AS manual wind in-house Vacheron Constantin caliber, so very thin. The watch is big at 42. And I'm going to say this is going to be a polarizing size because it's borderline too big for a dress watch. But there are some folks who have those tree trunk wrists. If your wrist is like my bicep and everything looks like a quarter when it's strapped to your forearm, this could be a great choice. And at only 7.65 millimeters thick, it does have that high horology pedigree. Beautifully built, nicely detailed. It's not clear if they're releasing 100 or 150 because the press release said 150. The actual picture of the watch had a case stamped with 100. So regardless, it's going to be rare. And it's going to be expensive because at about $47,500 US, it's a lot of money for a time-only watch. Josh, who's the customer for this?
It's going to be a collector, right? So it's not going to be your first watch when you buy something like this. This is going to be someone who is a fan of the brand already, maybe owns one or two Vacherons already,
yes,
and has a deep love for platinum.
Platinum, yeah, you got to be into PT, and I don't mean
I love platinum.
Yeah, not in the Navy sense, not in the Navy PT sense. No pre-dawn runs here. So we had a couple of questions coming through, and one of the questions came from Alexi. He's one of our regular viewers, and he asked about our app. He wanted to know if it will also gather all the aggregate pricing from around the internet to give a running price ticker for vintage watches. Yes, if the watch has a reference number, the app can track its pricing in real time. So if you're wondering whether, for instance, your Rolex 1680, late 60s Submariner date will have some sort of pricing functionality in the app, the answer is absolutely. Other questions coming through. This was... Okay, this is Lee Cohen, Tim or Josh, best JLC for 5,000 or under pre-owned.
Why don't you take this one?
Okay, yeah, that's sort of my wheelhouse.
Lee's a friend of the company too. Hey, Lee.
Lee is a friend of the company. So I would say sub 5,000, your best option is probably going to be the Master Ultra Thin 34 steel black dial. This is a watch that's got a wallop. It packs a punch. For a 34 millimeter watch, such presence on the wrist. You're talking about a watch that's about 6 millimeters thick, and it's a knife edge case. Yeah. The movement is a direct descendant of the abouche that JLC developed for Audemars and Vacheron in the early 50s. If you look at the Vacheron Constantin Historique 1955 Ultra Thin, you're going to see an evolved version of this caliber, but in the JLC, you're getting it. And you're getting it in a somewhat upgraded variant from the company that invented it for under 5,000. The epitome of elegance, classical thin profile, real history, and something of a holy trinity patrimony, I would say, because it does have that Vacheron and Audemars Piguet lineage. This is the most watch you can get for $5,000, period, in my opinion. And again, it's not going to look mini on your wrist. Outsized personality, it's the Napoleon of dress watches. For under 5,000, Master Ultra Thin 34 steel black dial.
Ditto.
And it comes with a deployant. Okay, other questions coming through. Let me see, Josh?
Yes.
What do we think of black dial Navitimers from the 50s? I know we've often said this is like the last unturned rock in the vintage world.
I think that you're going to see an uptick on vintage Navitimers. I like the Navitimer. I think that that Breitling should really market the Navitimer a little bit more.
Pivot back to that.
I think so. The Avengers and the Chronomats are really their best sellers, right? But the Navitimers are...
It's their soul.
It's their soul. It makes the most sense. They were, I think, first released in 1952, I think, was the first Navitimer.
That's Breitling's claim. There's a contention. Was it 1954 or was it 1952? Yeah. Historians say 52, historians say 54. Breitling says 52. We're going with Breitling's number because we're an authorized dealer and we love them.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of history in the watch. There's no other watches that look like it. It hasn't really been replicated.
Yeah.
A black dial is great. It's a great variant of that watch. It makes it a little easier to read because the white dials are tough, especially with the busyness of the dial. And I love a black dial watch on a brown strap. It creates a little versatility when you're wearing it. So if the question is, what do we think about that? We like it.
Great buy. And like Josh says, black dials. Pre-1960, you don't have those contrasting sub-registers. The dial is black registers, black dial, and the look is coherent, handsome, vintage, and way undervalued by the market. I'm not saying I want them to become expensive.
Right.
I'm saying right now, if you love watches for the sake of the watch, and you're not trying to make a fortune, and you're not just following lemmings over the cliff on the vintage blogs. Right now, a reference 806 Navitimer with a beaded bezel, monotone dial, and a Venus 178 is an awesome buy. Buy it for the history, stay for the investment potential, but this is a watch to get if you want to have something that's on par with Omega Speedmaster Pro, Rolex's Submariner, the heart and the soul of Breitling is the Navitimer.
Yeah.
And if Georges Kern knows what he's doing, and I think he does, you should see that heart and soul model re-emphasized.
And if you want to learn how to use a slide rule, also go ahead and get that watch.
Yeah, if you buy a Navitimer from us, I will get on the phone with you and tell you how to use that slide rule.
Tim, don't say that on camera, please.
Okay.
Lots of phone calls.
Buy it from him.
Yeah. Okay.
We got his number, right, guys?
Yeah, we got it.
But, okay, Fabi Schwartz asking, hey guys, is it possible to take an educated guess when IWC will revamp the Aquatimer collection? I think the current collection is on the market for a long time now, isn't it? The last canonical year of the Aquatimer was 2014, which means the Aquatimer being a fairly important collection for IWC as opposed to the Da Vinci, which is like a once-a-decade deal. I would say you're going to see about a 5-year cycle because 2016 was the year of the Pilot's Watch. Prior to that, 2012 was the last year of the Pilot's Watch. So I would say either 2018 or 2019, you're going to see a new Aquatimer collection from IWC. All right. Continuing through our list of talking points, we pivot back from watches to wheels, or a combination of the two. Okay, Porsche Design divorced from Eterna, its longtime partner, in 2014. Porsche Design releasing the Chronograph 911 Turbo S. Now, this is something similar to what IWC did with watches and wheels in 2005 with the CLS 55 AMG. There were 55 watches sold with the 55 limited edition AMG cars. They did it again in 2009 with the, I believe this was the SL63 200-piece limited edition, cars and watches. Once again, it was an Ingenieur. Of course, JLC had its Amvox DBS, DB9, and Rapide transponder watches that you could buy with the car. Remember, you could pop open your car with your watch. And then there were all manner of Hublot, Girard, Perregaux, and Cabestan special editions exclusively for Ferrari owners. But what Porsche's doing here with the 911 Turbo S chronograph is that they are allowing you to buy a watch with your car, and only with your car, that is customized just like the Porsche exclusive customizes your car. For instance, if you have the gold colored car, you're going to get the gold lacquered dial with carbon fiber. There are a number, I want to say there are 5 or 6 paint codes for lacquered custom dials, matching strap thread. It's a lot of watch, 42 millimeters blackened titanium, rubber strap with a titanium buckle, water resistant 50 meters. It comes with a titanium bracelet and strap/bracelet tools. Customized to match your Porsche 911 Turbo S, 500 of the watch and 500 of the car will be made. And it is a fairly high-grade movement in there. It's a ETA flyback automatic chronometer grade Valjoux 7750 and 48-hour power reserve. It's something of an upgrade over the standard 7750, but this is the highest spec, COSC. The question is the accessory set with the extra strap and bracelet, the strap tool, the chronometer spec movement, the extensive decoration that Porsche Design has done, the extensive styling that Porsche Design has invested, is it worth, Josh, $12,650 to be sold exclusively at Porsche centers to Turbo S buyers? Is it too much money? I think it's maybe 3 times as much as it should cost. Good watch, wrong price?
Well, so they're only selling it to people who buy that car.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not sold to the general public.
No.
Okay, so if it was, it would be probably a $35,000 or $4,000 watch, right? I mean, let's be honest.
Put it this way, Porsche in the past has allowed you to double the price of a Boxster with options, so they're notorious for this. It's basically a Porsche option at Porsche option prices.
Yeah, basically, I mean, it's a cool watch.
Yeah.
If I was buying a 911 Turbo, then I would probably spring the extra 12 grand for the watch just because I could get it. But if I was just buying this watch to own, I probably wouldn't be spending the $12,000 or so.
Yeah, so basically, if you've already dumped $15,000 on a Porsche leather-wrapped interior option, this is just like a marginal expense on top.
Exactly.
It's better looked at as a moderately priced option in Porsche's insane options catalog rather than an expensive watch.
I wonder, is it added on as an expense on the car so you can get it, you can finance it?
I'm not sure whether this is something you can get with the car or something you do get with the car, but I think it's an option. I think that's the idea. So here's the thing. It's a good effort. Design-wise, I like the look of it. The dial is sharp, the case is sharp, the strap is good looking, the bracelet's a nice value, and the movement is thoughtfully finished for a customer caliber. I think it's 3 times more expensive than it should be.
Yeah.
It's the price of a full suspension overhaul in my ideal AMG. Guys, I've got like a death wish when it comes to expensive old German cars.
Yeah.
For only $6,000 more than the actual price of this watch, I could buy my actual ideal Porsche, which is a nuclear green 968 coupe from the early 90s.
Oh, there it is.
That's my AMG.
All right, that'll be the next one.
That's my bank account's date with destiny, not the car, the suspension system.
Understood.
So that's my take on this watch. An interesting confluence of cars and watches. We'll see, because Porsche now owns the means of production. Porsche design historically was not owned by Porsche, the automaker.
It was just a license.
Now it is.
Right. Yeah.
And since the divorce from Eterna, Porsche has taken over the means of production to build the watches as well as the means to design them.
Right.
So we're going to find out whether or not this can be kept running for years on end through many special editions of Porsche and watch.
Porsche is doing some really nice things with their cars, so maybe.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm more offended by the idea of a Porsche SUV than I am a Porsche watch. So, but then again, those are great. Those are popular. People love them. So I just got to get over it.
Well, the newer variations of the Cayenne that you're talking about are better than the original. I was a valet in college, and I got to.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was the first Cayennes were not the greatest.
I burned so much. I mean, carefully parked the customer's car.
Turning radius was a massive issue, and maybe there were some poles that were hit.
You can steer them with the throttle. You know that, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, so so here's a question. Okay, guys. Oh wow, we got so much stuff coming in tonight. Okay, Josh helped me with a PAM 372. Awesome timepiece. Hey, Lee,
okay, Lee.
Very cool.
Hey.
All right, so this is going to be my take on watches and wheels, the next frontier.
Ooh.
Okay, so guys, you know Blancpain Lamborghini, Aston Martin and Jaeger-LeCoultre, Girard-Perregaux and Ferrari, Panerai and Ferrari, Hublot and Ferrari, Cabestan and I'm running out of Ferrari partnerships here, Breitling for Bentley. Watchmakers love car brands, and for some reason, I feel like there's an unleveraged synergy between watch brands and the next frontier of electric and hybrid cars. So we know what a conventional co-branding agreement looks like between the old world of the automobile and the old world of watchmaking. Let me take a couple of the emerging class of electric and hybrids, pair them with their ideal driver, and then the ideal watch. If not co-branded, that should be co-branded. Okay, Josh.
Yeah.
Nissan Leaf.
Okay.
Weird looking.
Yes.
Freaks people out. Plastics don't age well.
Yeah.
Batteries don't age well.
Correct.
The ideal driver, in my estimation, of this car is Woody Harrelson.
Naked Woody Harrelson.
He'll take 2 of these, one for commuting and one as a Goodwill ambulance for medical emergencies. Medical emergencies involving agribusiness,
yes.
Colorado style.
Yes. My kind of business.
The ideal watch for Woody Harrelson while driving a Nissan Leaf is going to be the 2004 summer catalog collection from Swatch, the immortal Bunny Sutra. Exactly like the car, plastics don't age so well, batteries don't age so well, but unlike the car, hey, Swatch now has lifetime free battery replacement.
Okay. And I think Woody Harrelson will be following each of those each of those little suggestions on the dial.
Woody Harrelson, the Nissan Leaf, Bunny Sutra. Okay, so the Chevy Bolt. Now, it's the
respectable.
It's the Opel Ampera in Europe, but arguably the first significant real-world electric car at a price normal people can afford, a trailblazer with incredible utility, but from a huge and faceless company and destined to never get the respect it really deserves among car snobs. I think the ideal driver for this is going to be Bill Nye the Science Guy. Or for international audiences who've never heard of him, from BBC and Junkyard Wars, Kathy Rogers.
One and the same.
Okay, so the ideal watch for the driver of the Chevy Bolt, which, like I said, is built by a large and somewhat struggling brand that never gets the respect it deserves. The ideal watch is the Breitling Aerospace. Because frankly, exactly like the Chevy Bolt, it struggles for respect among watch snobs despite incredible value and features and performance. It's a class-leading product that people should buy more than they do.
Agreed.
Okay.
Another car that I parked many times as a Valley in college.
Here's one I know you never parked.
Yes.
Okay. The Tesla Model 3. The product of a genius visionary imagination.
That's right.
A colossal reframing of customer expectations that will make sports-style electric cars both cool, which the Model S achieved, but also affordable, which is going to be new to the Model 3. A bold move in a market obsessed with cheap gas size and trucks. The ideal driver for this car, well, it would be Elon Musk, but he already got the first one. So he already drives it. The real Tony Stark has one. So how about a carpool for the Avengers?
There you go.
Okay, Tony drives, Hulk calls shotgun, no way he's sitting in the middle back seat. Room in the frunk, the Tesla frunk, for Mjolnir the hammer, as well as Hawkeye's bows and arrows.
Okay.
So this makes sense. The Avengers carpooling in a Tesla Model 3.
And they're driving real fast, too.
Well, they've got to save the world.
They do.
Or the universe. The stakes keep escalating.
Against who?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Infinity War coming.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
The ideal watch for the driver of the Tesla Model 3, the Avengers, as they scoot to the next world-threatening crisis, is the FP Journe Elegant 48.
That's right.
Because like the Model 3, it's the only quartz watch to match that kind of build-up and hype. I mean, it's non-round, non-mechanical, and to people who want this watch, those are non-issues. Right. This watch is a success that shouldn't be. It breaks every single rule, and I mean, look, it's a quartz watch with a solid gold display case back. So again, bold, innovative, electric, and a rule breaker, and just like the Tesla Model 3, subject to wait lists and fanatical fan devotion. Okay, the GM EV1. Okay, you guys will remember this one as the electric car of Who Killed the Electric Car. You remember that movie? Well, this was deep into green before green was a scene. This was a 90s era electric car. It won big in California, but it lost out nationally and probably has too much political baggage to move its appeal beyond a very strict love or hate. The ideal driver for this car is Al Gore. And the ideal watch for the driver of the EV1 is a Rolex Oyster Quartz, like Al Gore and the EV1 from the 90s. Getting a little long in the tooth, and doing the high-end quartz thing while pin levers were still a thing, and Henri Stern was still playing tennis. This is a watch that's never found mainstream acceptance among new buyers or vintage collectors. Like I said, love-hate, car, watch, and driver.
I love, by the way.
Karma Rivero. Okay. Exorbitantly priced, extroverted, and thematically confused luxury hybrid. Hardly ever seen outside of auto shows and press photos. Revived from the dead, it's a revived brand using the same technology seen before, and don't you dare call it a Fisker. I'm just saying. Ideal driver? Leonardo DiCaprio. Why do I say this? Because he has one.
Yep.
He has the old-style Fisker version of it. Same thing, different name. But didn't Chevy build the Volt using the same technology for 1/6 the price?
They did.
And therein lies the ideal watch for the driver of a Fisker or Karma Rivero. That is the Piaget Emperador 700P Cousin. This was launched at SIHH 2016. It's a spring-driven ultra-luxury hybrid with a mechanical watch drivetrain and a quartz oscillator. And like the car, there's something they don't want you to dare call it, and that's don't dare call it a Swiss spring drive.
That's right.
And like the Chevy Volt, there may be a budget-priced alternative out there to this particular technology. Can you think of any watch powered by a spring powering a quartz oscillator with a continuous, smooth sweeping seconds hand that costs less than $90,000? Does anyone make anything like that?
I wish I had some citizens around here to give me an answer.
I wonder what a grand solution, a grand alternative might look like. Okay, so guys, it's kind of a funky, stupid little thing we did, but in the brave new world of electrics and hybrids, I believe car co-branding will continue. It just has to be the right watch for the right set of wheels, and apparently the right driver.
That's right.
We'll get back to gas guzzlers in our next episode. But for now, okay, this is an interesting question coming through from the audience. Tim and Josh, what's your favorite Panerai of all time? Josh, fire away.
Oh, shoot. My favorite Panerai of all time, very easy. It's a Panerai 327.
Okay.
It's a titanium chronograph, daylight chronograph with a brilliant blue dial and a titanium bracelet. I will settle, if you guys want to send me for free, a 326, which is the same watch on a strap.
I will say my favorite Panerai of all time, it's hard for me to disown the 198, the PAM 198 was the Jaeger-LeCoultre powered Platinum 8-day Radiomir. I will also say co-equally my favorite Panerai is the PAM 80 Independent with the Chevignet deadbeat seconds movement and the caseback magnifier of the deadbeat seconds complication mechanism. So that's a fairly easy one to answer.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, not bad.
Okay, other questions coming through. Oh, Weber fan 123, off-color comment about Black Widow. Hey, he's an Avengers fan. She's very attractive. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for joining us. As ever, Watch You Want watch reviews, my watch reviews, 24 hours a day, new ones posting all weekend. Josh and I, Geneva bound to FP Journe, for those of you who joined us late, it's happening in late September. We'll have a big video follow-up to chronicle what we did. I want to thank the three amigos for making our production possible, and our studio audience, Sue Jacquette, Social Media VP Govberg. Tonight, I'm Tim, he's Josh, they're the three amigos, she's Sue, this is Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on.
See ya.